Yeah, I'm happy to have you here. This is the 26th meetup of the BlockchainHub Graz. So quite a long-running blockchain meetup in Austria, one of the biggest ones we have here. And today it's really nice to have a couple of very interesting projects which are originated here in Graz. But first things first, a couple of things about the space. So basically that's a co-working space where people can rent in for a place. If you need to use the toilet is behind that door. And if you want to drink something, there is a cashier over there, or you can pay with Ether or Litecoin. I should put up the Bitcoin address again, because now with SegWit it became affordable again. And Lightning. Well, yeah, you can help me with the Lightning address. So if you can, that would be nice. Yeah, if you have just cash, there is something over there to pay the drinks. Anything else? Yeah, the fridge. So who is here first time? A couple of people. Okay. So the fridge is really hard to open. So just kind of pull with strong force on the right side of the fridge that you get to the drinks. So that's for logistical kind of things what I have to tell you. So yeah, BlockchainHub Graz. Just a couple of words. I repeat that slide over and over again. What I actually can right now say is we are the more or less only really active blockchain hub which was formed as a network. So, but you will find a couple of people here which are kind of evolved out of the space. So Matthias, for example, is running the Riot in Vienna. It's a hackerspace. It's a blockchain-specific hackerspace. So you will find all kinds of people there around Dash, around NEM, around Bitcoin, of course, and Ethereum people and so on. So basically, very interesting people there. And Shermin is leading the Institute of Crypto Economics in Vienna. They just received a 20 million grant for 4 years, so that they can kind of support blockchain-specific projects. So if you're looking for funding, that might be some place to go. And of course, there are a lot of corporations in there, a lot of research institutions, and so on. So we are the ones which kind of have these kind of regular meetups here. You find a lot of different kind of meetups in Vienna, but basically that's a space to go if you want to go in Graz to blockchain specific stuff, and I try to keep it up every month kind of thing. So a couple of things. So still something which is in my slide deck. So we wrote something in 2016 about basics. You know, it's like if somebody is new to the space, it still makes a lot of sense, but on the other side, this is kind of, I think it's the most ridiculously fast kind of development space you can be in. So if you're working in blockchain somewhere, everything what was valid last month might be obsolete this month. And you can't really kind of say, besides some kind of very basic things, it really doesn't change much. So it's really a ridiculously fast-paced kind of space. So we have a YouTube channel, so what we kind of record here, we usually put up on the YouTube channel, so you can re-watch old meetups. So if you are interested in state channels or other kind of stuff, is all there, what was recorded, and you can review those. Also the slides, when we get slides from the presentations here, we put on SlideShare, so you can go there and have a look as well. So, first things. So we have sent out a kind of giveaway for ATS. So to everybody who is registered in the meetup group, and there were 7 people actually made it to provide an address what they claim to be able to handle. So I would just call the names, and Didi is actually doing the whitelisting in the background. So super, passt. Also 6 weitgelistete Adressen. So what is happening? So this was just the address check or appearance check. So basically everybody who provided till this today noon an address was on that list, and we promised to give away some ATS. So in the background you will get onto that address 10 ATS, and then you have to choose kind of between actually 3 challenges, but basically 2 kind of major different ones. The one is, if you choose the left side, you send a 0 ATS transaction to the smart contract which is listed down here. You will get a QR code later if you want. And you can receive, if you do that till midnight today, 1000 ATS for basically sending just a transaction to the smart contract. If you're able to call a function within the smart contract, then you will receive 2000 ATS. And because that's kind of, maybe you are not prepared to do a function call, and it's a lot easier to do it with MetaMask, just sending a 0 ATS transaction to the smart contract. We said, well, the ones which actually call a function in the smart contract, they have 1 day longer. But if they then fail, then they probably stick with the 10 ATS, because then if they can't get the 2000, they also won't get the 1000. So you either you decide either on this side, or you go for the 2000 and don't have to do it till midnight. Is that clear?
No, I can do both as well.
No, you can only do one.
One?
Yeah, you have to really choose. So if you go for this one, you can't do that one.
It's not democratic.
No. Sometimes in life you have to choose something. So it's like in that case you have to choose for the simple way or the more sophisticated way, let's say. So if you just want to grab the 1000, then it's a simple transaction. If you want to get 2000, then you have to be calling the function. To make it more sophisticated, so you have a QR code here about the address. If you go to the Blockchain Explorer, the ARTIS Blockchain Explorer, you can look up the code. So basically, you should be able to find the smart contracts on the Blockchain Explorer as well. And basically, it shows very nicely all the kind of the whole detail of the smart contract. And there is another function in the smart contract. When you call that one, then you also get the 2000 ATS, but you have another challenge put into that one. But Didi told me I should not tell the challenge, so basically you just read it out of the code. So what you can test out there. But definitely it's a little bit more advanced than just calling a function in the smart contract. So you have to be more familiar. So again, challenge 1, deadline till today midnight. Challenge 2, deadline till tomorrow midnight. And the alternative, challenge 2, is the deadline also tomorrow midnight, plus a little bit of a fee. So that's the kind of. So if you're going to the website artis.eco, you will find this Explorer button and or Explorer. It's known. I don't know the exact address yet, but kind of find the Explorer for ARTIS, and then basically you will find that smart contract as well. Good. So 2 talks today. As I said, Max will tell us about chain lock, which is a new product where you basically have a very, let's say, very sophisticated paper wallet. So it is a lot more than kind of, there is a lot of effort put into it, how you can create that and how to make it secure. But he will definitely tell you more about how it's done and all that kind of stuff. And the other one is Rafael from Infineon, and they created NFC key cards. They're called Secure2Go, and there will be a hackathon to use those cards. And you will hear more about the cards, about the hackathon, and all of that kind of stuff. What you can basically do with those. So with further ado, I would like to hand over to Max.
So thank you, Thomas, and BlockchainHub. So I guess I won't need 40 minutes, so 20 minutes at max. And please feel free to ask questions right away. So I don't wait to do a Q&A later, but just ask your questions during the talk. So I'm going to talk about the card wallet, which actually is a product of ours. But I would like to not make this a marketing presentation, rather a technical presentation, but here it is the product. So one moment, so we have a look at it. So actually, as Thomas said, it's a card and it's a wallet, and it's a way to securely store Bitcoins on the long term. So this is an actual card wallet, so you can pass it through to have a look. And it was developed by our company Coinfinity, so we are here from Graz, and the Austrian State Printing House, which is the österreichische Staatsdruckerei. But please refrain from thinking that the Austrian State Printing House would be a state-owned company. So Staatsdruckerei doesn't mean that the state owns this, it's a private company. Not sure why they are allowed to keep this name, but 10 or 12 years ago they were privatized, so they are a 100% private company. And these guys are printing our passports and our ID cards, so they have a very big expertise when it comes to high secure documents. Why did we go this way to create this product? Because we started selling Bitcoins almost 5 years ago with the first Bitcoin ATM in Austria. And for, I think, almost one year, this was the only Bitcoin ATM in Austria, and lots of people were coming to our place to buy Bitcoins. Really, they came from Tirol or Vorarlberg to put money in this. And we talked to hundreds or even thousands of people. And during the next coming years, when we developed this product, which is called Bitcoin Bone, you can buy a Bitcoin voucher in over 4,000 POS in Austria. And when we developed our exchange platform, we saw that people really have a hard time keeping Bitcoin secure in the long run. I mean, there's lots of ways to do this, but there's no way that is really dump-proof. So for example, my own mother, I wouldn't allow to install a standard Bitcoin wallet because I would be afraid that she is going to lose the Bitcoin. So there was a need for us to find a really secure and easy to use product to store Bitcoins in the long term. This study from 2018 says that 9% of the 14,000 interviewed people own Bitcoin in Europe, and 25% want to buy Bitcoin in the future. So I guess this number is a little bit too high, but let it be 5% who own Bitcoin. But this number I think is a little bit too low. So there's a huge part of the population who wants to go into the crypto space, but is not able to do so because they don't have the technical expertise. They don't know how to install a hardware wallet. They feel insecure in going to an exchange and opening an account. And these kinds of people are the one we want to tackle with our product, because this is a way to store Bitcoins by only taking this card, load Bitcoin onto it and putting it into a secure location, a safe deposit box or something else. There's no need to install something, there is no software because there is no hardware on it. There's no need to do a firmware upgrade, there's no need to recognize or remember any passwords. It's just this physical thing that you can load bitcoins onto and then keep this physical thing secure. This is the only thing you have to do. On the other hand, if you lose this, then your bitcoins are gone. Yeah, and the most important reason for people to buy Bitcoin in the past, and I think still, is that they see Bitcoin as a form of digital gold, so long-term value storage. I would be very happy if people started to use Bitcoin again as a form of payment to pay for things, but the truth is people don't do it. So I would say that over 90% or over 95% of people who buy Bitcoin via our services want to have Bitcoin just as a form of storage of value. And most of them want to keep it secure over the long run, 1 year, 2 years, in this range. And so this question arises, how do you store Bitcoin securely in the long term? So I guess most of you will be familiar with the standard ways, but I'm going to go through them quickly. Yeah. And this is, of course, you know this, but I want to emphasize that the private key in a public-private key pair is the most important thing. So if you own Bitcoin, you actually don't own Bitcoins, and you have this private key, which makes you able to sign a transaction and broadcast it to the rest of the network. So this is the most important thing. The person or the entity who has the private key owns the Bitcoin. And this is the thing you have to keep secure and safe and secret. So this popular saying, your keys, your Bitcoin, not your keys, not your Bitcoin, is valid here as well. Okay, so most people store their Bitcoins on a smartphone app, which is a good way of storing Bitcoins for smaller amounts. So if you want to store Bitcoins, let's say, worth of 10 euro or 20 euro, that's perfectly fine, because if you lose your smartphone or if your smartphone crashes, then the small amount of Bitcoin is gone. But many people forget to make a backup of their smartphone wallet by writing down the seed. And we already had dozens of customers who came to us. I lost my phone, what I can do? Did you write down your backup seed? No, what is this? And the Bitcoins are gone. So it's not a perfect way for storing Bitcoins in the long run. It's good for smaller amounts, but for larger amounts and on the long run, I wouldn't recommend this. Another way to store Bitcoins is on an online wallet or exchange. We all know what happens sooner or later. Most, or not most, but many of the online exchanges we know and we knew got hacked at some point. And of course, it's a perfectly attractive target for any hacker because lots of Bitcoins are accumulated on the server and yeah, it's a very attractive target. So not the best way of storing Bitcoins in the long run as well. Hardware wallets are a good way if you know what you're doing and if you have a little bit of technical expertise. Then most of these 25% of the population who want to go into crypto don't have the technical expertise to, let's say, install a Ledger wallet or a Trezor wallet. So it's too complicated for them. Also, maybe you have heard about this, so hardware wallets aren't this secure. I mean, this wallet fail exploit is a very sophisticated one that probably doesn't, is not going to attack you personally, but at least you have the problem of keeping your hardware updated all the time. So you have to do firmware upgrades from time to time. You can't just have it laying in your safe and then get out your hardware wallet 10 years from now because maybe the USB port isn't there on your computer anymore. And the last thing which many people are using is a so-called paper wallet, which, as Thomas said, this actually is some kind of paper wallet, but a very sophisticated one. Because if you are a standard Bitcoin user and you try to create your own paper wallet, then you can, you will see that there are a lot of obstacles when doing this. For example, this one is a classic. There's a bitaddress.org, which is a open source paper wallet generator, but I happened to misspell this, and The domain owner actually is a nice guy and warns you, but it often happens that people create paper wallets out of malicious code. So for the standard user, this isn't recommended as well. And this is why we developed this, our product, the so-called Bitcoin Wertschrift. This was almost 3 years ago, which is a paper wallet that we made in a secure environment. And this is the evolution of the Bitcoin Wertschrift, which is the actual product. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about this. So it was developed mainly by the State Printing House, who have the hardware infrastructure in their house. And we developed some software and some special way of creating the private keys. I'm going to talk about this later a little bit. This is the correct way to store your card wallet in a secure place. So don't put it into your wallet, because that's not a secure place. Put it into a safe. And I'm going to show you a short video we have that may be explaining most questions. I hope we have sound here. Thanks, Philip. English. I'm sorry. Start again. Ja, es kommt aus meinem Rechner. Es geht nicht lauter.
What is the best way to store bitcoins long term? On your smartphone? That could easily get lost. What about on your computer? That's not very safe either. An online wallet, perhaps? No, that could always get hacked. Besides, where do the numbers for my private key actually come from? And who generates these numbers? Can I trust them? Is it even possible to protect bitcoins for the future at all? It is, with a card wallet from Coinfinity and the Austrian State Printing House. The card wallet shows your Bitcoin address on the front, to which Bitcoin can be sent. On the back, you will find your private key, which will unlock your Bitcoin once you need them. This key is unique and is covered up and sealed from the beginning to ensure that no one else sees it. Furthermore, the safe generation of the key is based on Coinfinity's secure entropy technology. The Austrian State Printing House has the highest proven standards of security and confidentiality, producing passports and other forgery-proof documents. You can recognize the legitimacy of the card by its reliable safety features. But the most important thing of all, the card is extremely durable and sturdy. Order your card online at cardwallet.com. Make payments and keep an eye on your account balance online, while the card itself is kept safe the whole time. The card wallet. Simply secure.
Yeah. This actually is one of the machines in the State Printing House that gets used for printing these. And what makes this very special is that you see on the back of the card there is a seal. So do we have an open card? Yeah, there's an open card. You can pass on this as well. So on the front is a standard QR code, which is the public address where you can send bitcoins to. And on the back, actually, I rubbed this off, but below the seal is the private key to this Bitcoin address. And this private key is sealed by a very special seal. And the card as well has some hidden and some public security features. So it's very hard to forge this card. It should actually be impossible to do this, but it all depends on the effort that somebody puts into this. But the nice thing is that as long as you have a sealed card, you can be sure that the Bitcoin amount that the QR code on the front tells you is actually on the card. So you can pass this on as a form of payment. So if I give you a card and I say, there's 1 Bitcoin on this card, and you see that the seal is not broken, and you check the security features, then you can accept this as a form of payment, being as good as 1 Bitcoin, and you can do a form of offline transaction without having to actually broadcast a real transaction on the blockchain. So this could be at some point in the future be some kind of Bitcoin bill, like we have dollar bills that we pass on. We could have Bitcoin bills that we pass on. Pardon? Bitcoin Cash, yeah, exactly.
What's the other code here, the QR code on the back, the CNC?
This one is called the chain lock code, which you can use to check the validity of your app with the chain lock app. So this is an a dedicated app on the App Store developed by the Austrian State Printing House, where you scan the front of the card. If you want to install it, you can check it with the card, and the back of the card. And these codes tell you that the front and the back of the card really are meant to be together. So, because you could try to split the card and forge them, and this app also it checks some of the other security features, and it's used to firstly tell you the balance, and secondly tell you if it's a valid card that is known by the Austrian State Printing House. This is the app where you can check the card. Yeah, and I just wanted to mention this. We call it secure entropy technology, and actually the one who invented this is over here. It's Daniel. So when you create a private key, then what you are actually doing is you create a random number. So private key is nothing else than a random number in a big number space, and you have to make sure that you, first of all, that you have a big enough entropy. So in the sense that the pool of random numbers is big enough. So if you have a pool of 10 numbers and you pull out a random number, then it's not really randomly because 0 to 10, that's not a big pool. But you have a big enough random number, then it could be a good random number. And the second thing, which we wanted to make sure, is that we can prove that we have a valid random number generator. And in our case, this is a very old-fashioned way to create random numbers by just rolling dice. So Würfel. Wir würfeln unsere Nummern. And we even can make sure that our own entropy and random numbers are actually used when creating the random numbers. If you have questions about this in a technical way, please refrain to come to Daniel, who knows more about this. Yeah, currently this card is Bitcoin only, so it's for long-term storage of Bitcoin, but the Ether card is in planning, and I think there is a lot of potential ways to use a card, because once you have Ethereum card, you can store anything on the Ethereum ecosystem. Any token that is based on Ethereum can be stored long-term on a card like this. By the way, ATS as well. Yes, sure. Any token, and of course ATS. Yeah. Yeah. So if you want to buy a card wallet, you can do it at cardwallet.com, or please come to our office. And I think I'm done with my presentation. Yeah. Thank you. If you have questions, then please go on.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
So basically, how does it really work with the random number generation? So it's there, right, at the Österreichische Staatsdruckerei?
Yeah.
And you have a computer which is creating random numbers, and this is then sent to the machine and printed on the card,
yeah. So actually there's multiple random number generators. So I think the Austrian State Printing House has 2 of their own. So one hardware number generator, one software number generator, and we are bringing our own random numbers by doing the dice. And they get mixed up, is this correct? And then out of this number, we generate private keys who get engraved. Actually, this is laser engraved on the card, on the back of the card. So that's how it works.
How is the market feedback? So how does it get absorbed by the market? How is the sales?
Not bad, but also not that good as I expected, to be honest. Which might be due to the general market conditions, because demand for Bitcoin as well in general is not that much currently. But we haven't started our marketing machinery yet, so yeah.
How much do you expect? How many do you expect to sell? What is the market potential? Have you done some?
I mean, if you think about that, Ledger sold, I think, 1 million units in 2017. There's quite a big market for this. Yeah.
I think I'd be tempted too much to open the seal.
Yes, sure. Sure. So, yeah, actually, that's a good note, because when we are sending these out, you also get 2 extra seals. So they are not quite as secure as these. Actually, these are just stickers. But if you're tempted to scratch this off and just have a look and have a peek, then you can cover it up again. It's not a super secure seal, but at least you can prevent that somebody else snoops onto your private key. Yeah.
But then you're not able to do an UTC trade.
Sure. Sure.
But in general, if there's a chain lock code on it, then you can almost certainly be certain that there's also a private key on it, because it's printed or lasered in the same process.
Yeah.
But if I want to spend it, I can only. Well, I should spend the whole.
Yes,
amount.
exactly. I mean, you can import the private key and spend just a portion of it, but the security is gone. So because then it's an online private key, and the security is not as high as on the card. Yeah.
I mean, of course, you don't. Sorry,
Yeah.
you don't know the amount people store on this. Of course, you don't know, but
No.
maybe you talk to customers and they tell you, I want to store 10 bitcoins or.
You can store any amount onto it. It's up to your own decision.
Information about marketing, like what people want to store on cards like this.
Actually, we did know in our first product in the Bitcoin Wertschrift, because we tracked the Bitcoin addresses for our customers, but in this case, it was a decision from ours not to know the public keys. So people are buying these blank without Bitcoin. Of course, they can buy Bitcoin on our exchange or any other service, but we don't know is this a card wallet address or a standard address. So can't tell you any numbers here.
Can the Österreichische Staatsdruckerei somehow prove that during the printing process nobody is making a copy of the private key?
Not 100%. So it all comes down that you trust the State Printing House and you trust Coinfinity. I mean, if you have a look at the website of the State Printing House, they claim to have the most secure room in Austria, and they have different kind of hardware firewalls, and people get checked, and there's an iris scanner, what else. But in the end, you have to trust them. But you have to trust any wallet provider, be it a Trezor wallet or the software that creates your paper wallet. So in the end, it comes down that you have to trust the generating entity of your wallet. Yeah.
But we have to say that the room in which this card is produced is like separated from the rest of the State Printing House. Only very few people are allowed in there. We are not allowed in there. We only can verify through a glass window what is going on. And only two people at once can go in there. Never can any one person go in there alone. So there are lots of security protocols to prevent cheating inside of the stuff.
So,
just for how much you said this?
Pardon?
For how much do you sell this?
59 euro per unit. The best thing would be, if you're able to do, the best thing would be to generate your own private keys. So if you know how to do this in a secure way, if you know about entropy, if you know how to securely print things for the long term, then it would be the best way. But nobody can do this. So the second best way would be to outsource this to a company like the State Printing House, because I personally have checked this and I fully trust them to do this a proper way.
Once you print a private key with laser,
Yeah.
you then verify that it matches the public key.
Yes.
In case the laser runs
Yes.
unsupervised, but could have some
Yes.
Staubkorn
Yeah.
into it. And
They do some visual checking, also recreating the public key from the private key. Yeah. So that you don't scratch this off and it says haha or something like that. Yeah. Or Niete.
insert coin.
Yeah. Okay. Any more questions? All good? All right? Then thank you.
We have now the second product presentation, and Rafael and Walter will give you more information about this one. I'm personally really excited about the product because it will give you a lot of options what you can do with that. You can use it as a wallet and you can use it for all kinds of stuff. But what basically you come up with, you can prove that it is valuable for the space. So therefore, the introduction from Rafael regarding what is about to come here in Graz, and please listen careful to what he's telling you. Thank you.
Yeah, so thanks Thomas for the invitation. I'm actually a guest here in town. I'm usually in Vienna, so actually near Staatsdruckerei. I worked recently at company Telehase. Actually, but I started in 2015 working for Infineon, and then I took a break, and then I went to company Telehase, and now I'm back at Infineon. And I'm just organizing a hackathon, which is gonna take place end of March in Graz. So this is why I'm also here. And one topic is gonna be blockchain. And not to just present the hackathon just like this, I just want to give you a few minutes, a few impulses, what I did before and what in the end led to this hackathon. And I won't take too long, so in the end, if you have questions, ask me right away or afterwards, so I'll still be here. One website or activity I want to tell you about is Industry Meets Makers. It's a new initiative since about 2016, founded by Sandra Stromberger, and she's very active in networking in the business community, especially large corporates, but also nowadays more medium-sized companies and startups. And the idea is to bring challenges from the industry to the maker community, also to the startup community, and just to give people the opportunity to reach out to the industry and to engage in projects. And so this is called Industry Meets Makers. And for example, the next batch starts in March and goes half a year. Yeah, this is, by the way, Sandra, so I can recommend, if you're interested in talking to her, just call her or send an email. She's very open and very friendly, so she's doing a great job. This is an example of 2016 when everything started. For example, yeah, here are some challenges. You can just look it up on the website. For example, they looked for a aquaponic solution, and I did this first challenge for Infineon, building copters, and other challenges of other companies like Wien Energy with solar-powered islands in Vienna. And this was one example we did. So I think the interesting thing is if you have like new technology from corporates, from the industry, that they really go out early and get feedback from you, from makers, from startups. And this is always a challenge for corporates because for sure they have a lot of restrictions in terms of quality and security. So often it's in sense of motivating them to go outside and talk to the community. And so we gave them, for example, this drone kit. And one example was, this is from Meetup in Vienna. This drone, we flew there. And our oldest, Gerhard, he was also part of the copter building teams. This is the famous telephone cell at Meetup. You might know it. Yeah, so this was the first challenge, like only getting to fly this drone. So, and for the people it was interesting because they had access to the firmware. So this was like the first generation. And at the hackathon we will also have a drone track. So we will continue this development. And yeah, I'm sure most of you know Meetup in Vienna. So if you're there one day, just drop by. Yeah. So, and what did I do the last 1.5 years? I founded a hardware co-working space called Factory Hub Vienna at company Telehase, also in Inzersdorf, as I mentioned, near Staatsdruckerei. And the idea was company Telehase is there since about 50 years. They're producing relays. And so we said, why not? We have this medium-sized company with about 85 employees. Why not open this company also for startups? So now we have a co-working space there with 14 places. And the cool thing is, if you produce electronics, on the one hand we have a lab where you can, for 30 euros a day, you can have a flex desk and you can use electronics for prototyping. And on the other hand, it's possible to manufacture a small series of electronics, like 10 pieces or 50 pieces, and you can start producing your electronics there. So, and then there are also other projects in Austria, but this is the one I know most about. And what was also cool, we built actually this network of cooperation partners. So once you're an electronic startup, you can really attach to a lot of them, like FH Technikum or MC Innsbruck, for example. So Happy Lab, the creators of Maker Faire in Vienna, I can also very recommend. So we really try to build a strong electronics network. And so now I'm back at Infineon, and I was invited to start working with startups. So we are now looking for startups, for example, who want to go into research, R&D together with us. And this is now the start of marketing the hackathon. So this is from today, from Trending Topics. And yeah, we are happy that we are now getting feedback from the community. And finally, the web page of the hackathon, it's taking place at the Let's Cluster Festival at Messe Graz. It's about 3 days. And so I'm responsible for the hackathon. And we are going to have the hackathon through the night. So it's going to be about 24 hours, or perhaps if you sleep 2 hours or so, then we'll be about 24 hours. And so we have 3 tracks. We have a drones track, where you can then also combine the drones with new sensors from Infineon. So for example, with a 3D image sensor, time of flight, or example, radar sensor. But you can also do the sensors on your own. So for example, idea to have a lamp or so, or gesture control, something like that. So we are trying now really to give the sensors to the community and support them also on the way. So this is also what I know about other projects. Hardware alone is okay, but the interesting thing is the support, so that you can really faster start developing. And the 3rd track is the blockchain track. And this is about the NFC cards you will hear about. So if you're interested, you're invited. If you're a maker, if you're in a group, in a team, we are going to explore all the ways. It's actually very broad. And here are also my contact details on the website. It's letscluster.com, and then you come to an Infineon hackathon. Just call me, and then if you have an idea, let's talk about it. And yeah, so this is the first hackathon for me that I'm organizing, and I'm already very keen on what's coming out, and I hope that we'll learn a lot and give back to the community all our shared experiences. And so welcome, and we are coming to Graz, and so you're already in Graz, but I'm also here the first time really in Graz and at the Meetup, and thanks again for Thomas inviting, and really also interested in connecting to the Grazer community. So any questions or afterwards ideas, just talk to me. I'll still be around for a while. Thanks.